Hi, I wanted to talk to you about diastasis rectus abdominis. That's a separation in the abdominal muscles, the six-pack muscle, the rectus abdominis muscle. And this happens for a variety of reasons. I commonly see it when I treat women postpartum. They could also get it prenatally as well, so while they're pregnant. Um, and you can notice it if you're lying on your back and you lift your head and shoulders up. You see a doming type activity happening down in your abdominals. And if you do see that, it's likely that you do have a separation. It is not uncommon for women to experience this during pregnancy and even a few weeks after pregnancy. What is uncommon is if the gap is more than 2 finger widths and it doesn't close on its own after 6 to 8 weeks postpartum. So I get this question a lot. How can I fix it? What can I do about it? And even how can I prevent it during pregnancy and after pregnancy? The truth is that you can't really avoid it. There are things you can do to minimize your chances, but most women do experience some form of abdominal separation during pregnancy and after the baby is born. So there are tons of exercises out there on YouTube that you can come across on how to fix or close the gap. But the truth of the matter is, everyone is really different, and finding out what your specific needs are really important. So you can do exercises until you're blue in the face, but you will undo all the exercises you've done if you don't carry yourself properly throughout the day. So if you're not breathing properly, if you're not picking things up properly, uh, and if your posture is off, then all the exercises you spent, 30 minutes to an hour doing are irrelevant because you're undoing everything that you've done during the exercise throughout your daily activities. So there's a few things that I wanted to share with you that I think are important to be aware of throughout your day. I'm not going to share any exercises with you right now. I just want to talk about these things. You can find exercise videos on YouTube, do the exercises, but also be mindful of how you carry yourself throughout the day. So first things first, your posture. Check your posture. Make sure that your hips are stacked over your ankles. Make sure that your lower ribs are also stacked over your hips. Make sure your shoulders are nice and relaxed and not curled over. It's so easy when you're nursing baby all the time and you're caring for kids, picking things up, you're on and off the ground, for your shoulders to be rounded, especially if you're a nursing mom. So just be aware of your shoulders, your lower ribs, and your hips in relation to each other. Okay? So when you're holding baby or holding anything heavy, make sure that you maintain this posture. Pregnant women and postpartum women have a typical posture that they assume where the abdominals are sort of loose and hanging forwards and the lower ribs are not stacked over the hips. So just make sure that you do that. And I just want to show you what that will look like. So if I move back a little bit, right? So make sure that your hips, if you had to draw a line across your hips, make sure you're not tipping forward, spilling the contents out of the front, or make sure you're not tilted back way, spilling the contents out the back. You want your lower ribs to sort of be right over your hips, okay? So if you're spilling the contents out the front, which is what a lot of pregnant and new moms do, then it's really hard for your muscles, your deep core muscles, to work properly. Okay, so just be mindful of that throughout the day. Another thing I wanted to talk about is breathing. You do it all the time. You take lots of breaths throughout the day, but it's likely that you're not doing it properly. So I want to make sure that you're doing this correctly. And you should always be breathing when you do any form of heavy lifting or exertion. With a baby, there's lots of lifting that happens. You have to pick baby up, put baby down. There's lots of things that come with babies, including heavy car seats, including bags, diaper bags, and there's just lots of different things. So when you're lifting things and carrying things, you want to make sure that you're breathing and not holding your breath. So just some basic breath and breathing. You inhale, your stomach should rise, and when you exhale, your stomach should go back to its original position. So when you do that, when you inhale and your stomach expands, your pelvic floor muscles also move downwards. And then when you relax, everything goes back to their original position. So just take a few minutes to notice and make sure that you're breathing properly. And if you have to take, 2 to 5 minutes to lie down and put your hands on your lower ribs, just to make sure that you are breathing and you're expanding in your lower ribs, not so much up here, more so in your lower ribs down by the junction where your stomach actually meets. Breathing. And the last thing is lifting. I sort of mentioned it already. Make sure that when you're lifting, you're doing so on an exhale. When you exhale, this is a passive motion, and that also activates your deep core abdominals, including the transverse abdominis and your pelvic floor muscles. So by doing that, you're protecting your core and sort of minimizing the chances of the pressure, because there is pressure when you lift. You're minimizing the pressure of sort of banging up against your abdominal muscles, causing it to separate even more and more. Okay, so those are the 3 tips. Make sure you breathe, make sure you have correct posture, and make sure when you do any form of heavy lifting, you're doing so on an exhale, and breathe and contract your deep core abdominals. Thanks for watching. Bye.